Hi, everyone. Oh, hi, everybody. I'm Warner with Employer Outreach and Career Services at the University of Arizona Global Campus. We're excited to have you here today for our UPS information session. We're so excited to speak to Eric. We're going to give it about a minute or so because we had a huge turnout for this event, one of the largest, if not the largest this year so far, and we're really thrilled about that. So we're going to give some time for everybody to log in and get settled in. So grab your coffee, your wherever you are, water, and we'll just go ahead and do that. And while we're at it, if you want to go ahead and text in and or just a message in the chat where you're coming from or where are you right now in the United States. And then also we hope that all of you are very safe because we know there's all kinds of things out there, fires, heat, and all kinds of things. So welcome to this event. And we're so happy to have you here. And thank you so much for attending our university because we wouldn't be here without you. So let's give it a couple minutes and we'll get started. Or just about 30 seconds, actually, and we'll get started. Thank you so much. If you haven't heard, we're just waiting just a few seconds here for everybody to log in because we have a large amount of people that are registered for this event. We thank you so much for attending the UPS information session today with Eric, and we'll get started in just a few seconds. Thank you so much for being here today. Alrighty, thank you so much again for registering and attending today's event information session with United Parcel Service, and obviously everyone knows they're also known as UPS. My name is Warner Petzold. I'm the Employer Outreach Specialist at the University of Arizona Global Campus, and I'm a 10-year U.S. Air Force veteran. And as I shared with Eric and other UPS people, my sister also worked for UPS for over 35 years and retired from UPS, so I have a special place in my heart for UPS. So go UPS. We're excited you could join us today to learn about the exciting opportunities, career opportunities with UPS. And before I turn the floor over to Eric, I want to go over a few housekeeping items. This webinar is being recorded for all those who register for today's information session. The recording will be emailed to you in a few days. We will take time to answer as many questions as possible during and at the end of the presentation. At the bottom of the screen, you'll notice a QA button. You can submit questions with your name or anonymously to be answered live. We will do our best to get to as many questions as we can. However, if your question is not answered by the end of the presentation, you can email it to Career Services, that's both words mashed together, no dots, spaces, or anything in between, at uagc.edu. We will follow up with UPS and to get any remaining questions answered. Also, feel free to engage in the chat. You can pose questions in the chat, and members of the Career Services team will be available to help answer questions throughout the presentation. If you have any technical difficulties, we recommend logging out of Zoom and then logging back in. Now, I would like to introduce our guest employer. Joining us today is Eric Wesolowski, military and veteran recruiter for UPS. Eric, we are so excited to hear your presentation and thank you for joining us today. I will go ahead and turn it over to you.
Yeah, thanks so much. Thanks for having me, Warner, Rebecca. It's always a great opportunity to come out here and be able to speak with everybody who's interested with UPS. Like Warner said, my name is Eric Wesolowski. I'm a 10-year active duty Marine veteran. And the last 4.5 years, I've been in the reserve component as well. And I currently serve as the talent acquisition supervisor, focus on military and veteran recruiting with UPS here. And honestly, like I said, I appreciate the opportunity to connect with whether you're a student here, whether you're alumni or a professional from the University of Arizona. I'm super glad to connect with you today. Now, whether it's a new opportunity for yourself or you're preparing to graduate or exploring a career change, I'm super excited to go over what we have in store for you today. Today we're going to discuss exactly, who is UPS and what we do. We'll talk a little bit of our culture, some of our values, and then some of our growth opportunities. We'll talk about some of our career paths that we have currently available across the organization. And then we'll dive a little bit deeper into what we look for candidates, some career advice for the audience here, and then how to connect. I would say probably one of the best and most important is how to connect with us at UPS and apply for some of the opportunities. And then I will leave some time here at the end to answer some of the questions as well. Um, Now, when when we talk about UPS, I think the biggest thing that I see at job fairs or when I talk to individuals who are interested with UPS, they always think that immediately think the iconic brown delivery trucks, delivering packages, things of that nature. That's certainly a big part of what we do. But UPS is much more than just a package delivery company. Now, going into some of our history here, our company was founded in 1907. UPS has grown into one of the world's largest transportation logistics companies around, operating in more than 200 countries and territories around the world. And when you sit there and you think about that, think about whether you're a veteran or whether you're a student, or somebody who's searching for maybe a career transition, think about all of the different roles and career paths that make that machine run, right? To have those packages deliver across the world. Now, at UPS, our mission centers around moving our world forward by delivering exactly what matters. That's our motto. And our culture is built around a few different principles that we live by on a daily basis. And one of those uh, is going to be integrity. We'll talk about service, service to our customers, service to our employees. Innovation. Think about the innovation, especially in today's world, on how, the transformation of to stay in line of what's happening with technology. A big one is it will be accountability, collaboration, working together, and then ultimately, what the ultimate goal here is really customer focus on delivering what matters. One thing I enjoy most about UPS is honestly the opportunity to grow. We hold one time of year, I'm very fortunate to be a part of it on the panelists there, but we hold a mentorship program that, if you're an employee with UPS, we hold the mentorship program once a year. And essentially, we put you in touch with some career field that maybe you're in, maybe you're interested within, and then we tag that into, a manager and above. I've seen some VP levels in there as well, giving some of their mentorship to some of the mentees during the program. And we've had a tremendous turnout with that program. I've seen individuals do lateral movements inside of there just based off, just networking and connecting to people inside the organization. So very helpful, very great program that we offer there. Now, many leaders throughout our organization, I will say this, began careers in entry-level positions. I know a president right now over at Worldport who started out as a Navy veteran. He came on as a maintenance mechanic, and he's been with us for 30 years, and he's currently at the president level over at our Worldport Airport over there. And so, there's the opportunities are endless. Through hard work, the development opportunities inside, through the mentorship, and just the continuous learning environment that we give out. UPS is a company where long-term career development is taken very seriously, and our employees have opportunities to explore different business functions throughout their careers. And some of those career opportunities at UPS that I want to go over with you guys today, and I got them broken down into, categories here. Um, one of them being operations and logistics. So inside that category, when you look at our UPS jobs page, and I would love to, I'll share my screen at the end of the brief here and we'll take a look. But in the operations and logistics category, you've got operations supervisors, you got different types of hub management, industrial engineering, to make sure that those facilities are up and running and they're continuing to maintain, logistics specialists, and then supply chain solutions inside that as well. Inside the transportation, so think about going or moving those packages. We've got anywhere from our aviation, we've got pilots, we've got our package car drivers, our feeder drivers, which are the semi drivers that go and pick up those packages and deliver them to the hubs. And then different types of transportation management, whether it's an automotive fleet supervisor or manager who's overseeing those operations. And then inside of our technology side, we have different software development, data analytics, business systems analysts, and then cybersecurity, and then different types of infrastructure support. And I get this question quite often. The bulk of our tech related roles are through, we have a facility, our corporate global headquarters is located in Atlanta, Georgia. So you'll see some of those tech related roles there as well. And then another big center for those are going to be in Parsippany, New Jersey. You'll see some of those technology roles for those as well. On the corporate side, like I said, the bulk of our corporate side is going to be over at the Atlanta facility. You're going to find anything from human resources to finance to sales. Now, I'll say this, that's on the corporate side. There's so many different sales roles that are in different territories throughout the US. So if you look at our UPS jobs page, you'll probably see quite a bit of customer experience supervisor or things of that nature, account executive, and those are broken down into some territories as well. Marketing, project management, procurement, security. I get a lot of interest, especially on the veteran side, with the security side. A quick little side story, this ties into just like the overall power of what's out there at your hands, at your fingertips. So you have LinkedIn. I had a security individual who was a Marine veteran, probably, in the early 2000s. And then he had some law enforcement background on top of that as well. But he reached out to our team via LinkedIn. And then we went through our process there. Everything aligned perfectly. And we were able to secure him a security supervisor role out here in Texas, actually. And it just goes to the timing that was backed behind that. It was a matter of probably 3 weeks. We were able to, go from a LinkedIn message to collaborating together to all the way up to, him getting an offer letter for that as well. So it's very powerful to see. Don't be afraid to, reach out and set up, just don't be afraid to reach out through LinkedIn as well. And I'll talk a little bit more about networking later on. Some of the engineering and technical careers. So we have the industrial engineering, which I had mentioned. Those are going to be your base mechanics and your base facilities for maintenance. We've got automotive maintenance. That'll be your automotive technicians, mechanics, and then aircraft maintenance. Get a lot of transition. Honestly, I get a lot of individuals reach out from the aviation with aviation experience, with experience that they want to, continue on with UPS for that. And if you really think about it, think about on a military level, the accountability, the safety awareness, and everything that goes through that. It's a perfect transition into operating at a global level, especially with UPS. So get a lot of interest for those positions on the aviation side. Now, we are continuously looking for throughout, right? We're continuously looking for talented professionals who can help drive innovation, improve our processes, and deliver the what we need to our customers overall. Um, One of my key bullet points for today's conversation is talking about what it is that the UPS looks for in candidates. And, many students or alumni or, people seeking for a career transition if they're already in the workforce is what skills are employers really looking for. Now, while technical skills are important, many of the qualities that we value are transferable across all industries as well. So, one of those, obviously, being communication, problem solving abilities, leadership, adaptability, teamwork, critical thinking, customer focus, and then learning the agility behind the scenes to be agile inside of your day-to-day operations as well. And for professionals at the professional level roles, candidates who can demonstrate and measure, results, clearly explain their impact, often stand out quite often for that. So I would say I would encourage you as in a candidate to, when you start to apply, look at the things to focus on. Think about your accomplishments over your responsibilities. Think about the quantifiable results that are driven and tie those with the numbers, the backing the data behind that. Think about the leadership experience that you have, and how can you look at a job description and be able to, present yourself inside your resume to where you stand out during an application. And then lastly, or a few things here as well, different types of projects maybe you worked on, any type of internship experience you might have, and then volunteer and community involvement always go a long way with just showing the depth behind each person. Um, from a hiring perspective, the process really typically includes when you look at our career site, it goes in line with this. It goes through an online application to a resume review. Inside that resume review, you'll have the recruiters, and you got to think about this. I know, sometimes it gets a little frustrating when you're reaching out and you submit your application, you just don't hear anything back. But from a recruiter's perspective, right, they've got sometimes thousands of resumes to go through, and obviously we do have technology now to help out with that as well. But think about how many resumes that they're really reviewing for that as well. So just be patient. My recommendation with that is be patient with that. Give it maybe a few days after your application is in, and then maybe you follow up with that recruiter if you're able to find out who that recruiter is, or maybe you find out, you go through, you do your LinkedIn kind of recon, and you find individuals who might have things similar to you based off your LinkedIn profile, and just reach out and start the conversation out with, hey, I would love to touch base with you. I'm interested with employment with UPS. Maybe it's with project management. I would love to just, set 15 minutes on your calendar, and maybe we could have a cup of coffee and just, start with that. And then, maybe start to lean into like, yeah, I recently applied to this role, things of that nature. So you'll be surprised on how far, you can go with really networking throughout. Next, you'll go through interviews. Interviews, typically each role, whether it's a single interview or some of them might go into the majority of our management supervisor management roles will go to multiple interviews for that, so you'll have different multiple interviews typically. And then really the assessment of skills and experience, and then selection and onboarding for that as well. So that just goes through the life cycles, what we look for, how we operate with our job function cycle there. And one of the best things that you can do is I see this all the time, and I always go back to the military and veteran community. That's just what I've been working in. But overall, I see this time and time through the applications and the resumes that I see is, take the time and understand that job description. Take some of those key points in there and see how you can relate to that based off your experience that you have. And inside that job description, it's going to answer a lot of the questions, that you might have. It's basically telling you what they're looking for that role. So just make sure that when you apply, you're using a tailored resume. You're not using your master resume for everything. It's a tailored resume. It's just going to give you an increased probability with getting your resume looked at for that as well. Um, Now, some of the things here, one of my bullet points is discussing our career journey and some of our employee success stories. Now, one thing I always love to share is that the career paths they're rarely linear on a linear path. Many of the successful UPS employees, which I stated earlier, started off in a different area that they're at right now. I know individuals who might have started off with package handling. They work their way up into the TA role that they currently have right now. I've seen individuals begin in operations, later move into different types of leadership positions within the company as well. And then others have transitioned into, technology, project management, engineering, sales, supply chain management roles. And a lot of their stories really tie into a handful of things that I've after speaking with everybody, and I've kind of put together some bullet points, but they all align with the same thing. It's a continuous learning cycle. So continuously learning your role. Maybe you do some cross-functional work, but it's a continuous learning. It's about building relationships, and I'll tell you this right now. If you're seeking an employment, if you already have a job, building relationships is one of those things that it never stops. Whether it's for your work or whether it's just to build your network up. Building relationships is one of those things that you continuously build upon. And that's really where it landed me into the role that I have right now. I was actually working just as a recruiter for UPS, and in 2023, our team, which is the military and veteran recruiting team, got stood up at the end of 2023. And my boss, Lloyd Knight, who's our Veterans Military Affairs manager, had put together some things talking about veterans on LinkedIn. And I was already an employee with UPS, and I didn't know, that they had a team that was in place for that. And I sent him a LinkedIn message, just kind of told him who I was, loved to kind of meet up. And that opportunity right there brings me to where I am today. And it's just about, building those relationships out. And, it's very important. Seek new opportunities, seek new, projects within your company. I'll say this at a global level. There's so many different projects that we have that open up to doors for you to showcase what you're capable of. So seek the new opportunities inside of that, take on different challenges, and then just remain adaptable. And that's kind of what, after speaking with some of our employees that currently work for us, that maybe started somewhere, ended up somewhere different, that's been one of the key, bulk of talking points there. And I would say the individuals who really grow the most successfully often, raise their hands for new experiences, stay open to opportunities that they may, not have already originally considered for that as well. Uh, Now, some advice for students entering the workforce. Now, if I could offer a few pieces of advice, some of those things would, and I'm kind of going back and forth, talking about the same thing, is just build your network early. Don't wait until you need a job to start networking. Build that network now, whether you currently have that, you're already currently employed, or you're a student, or you're going through a transition. Start building that network now. Start reaching out to people, asking for. I know Lloyd Knight, my boss, always brings up. Have he has. I'm gonna butcher it here, but he has this saying. Have 50 cups of coffee with people throughout the year. Out of those 50 cups of coffee, that's going to lead to, five, maybe five new connections or two new opportunities through that or so. But start to build like a plan for your year for just overall networking. And you have the things at your fingertips here with all the technology with LinkedIn. LinkedIn is super powerful, very, very powerful. And I would say, with my own ability to network, I started off, I transitioned out of active duty in 2021, and I started working with a sales career that was remote, and I ended up getting laid off because it was for a mortgage company, and at that 2021 timeframe, rates were starting to go up. So I ended up getting laid off. And some of those things that I learned at that point in time was always keep your resume updated every quarter. You never know what's going to happen. Just keep it updated, make sure it's nice and organized if you need to apply or whatever it might be. And then during that time frame, one of our I was actually taking a yoga class, and one of the couples that were in there, an older gentleman, Marine veteran from the 80s. He was the director of global recruiting for a very well-known company. And, we just sat there, took a yoga class. I was just kind of telling him my story. And after that, we decided to grab a cup of coffee. From that cup of coffee, the following week, that led to an employment opportunity with that company. And that has kind of started my career off in recruiting. And from there, it's been an amazing ride for sure. I had mentioned tell your story. So your degree is important, your experiences are important, but your ability to explain, your strengths, your accomplishments, and your goal is equally important. And I know through a lot of our veteran organizations that, help out with resumes, interview prep, and things of that nature is one of the big key points with that is have an elevator pitch, right? Have an elevator pitch that, is 30 seconds to less than a minute long, to where you can explain your strengths, you can explain some of your accomplishments, and the goals are very equally important with that as well. And some of my biggest, if not one of the biggest advice that I'll give you is stay curious. Continuous learning, continue learning skills, exploring different areas of business. Many careers evolve in ways people really never expected. So I know that I'm sure we can all maybe think of somebody off the top of our head that, maybe has a specific degree in this sector, and now they're working in something completely different. But stay curious, have those things that, that continuously drive you, and just be available, be open to the opportunity. Your first role does not have to be your forever role. I would say many successful careers are built through continuous growth and development throughout. So I would say that is some of my biggest advice there. One thing that I would like to do at this point in time, while I have some time with you guys, is I would love to go ahead and share my screen. And I want to talk through our career site. That way we all get familiar with what we have here. So let me go ahead and share my screen, team. And let me know, Warner, are you able to see that? Okay, perfect. So team, I'm going to minimize this. This is our career site. It gets continuously updated. So there's always new improvement. The improvements based on our customers, on how our candidates, our experience. And the right hand here, you'll see, our AI bot here. So you can type in anything from whatever that might be. And it's going to pull off it's going to go through our website, and it's going to pull whatever the keywords that you have there. Through our jobs list, you'll see if you scroll down, let me go through our jobs. So here. So if you look at this sector here, this is going to go over all of our jobs functions that I kind of mentioned. So our biggest bulk, right, is to keep the machine running. So our biggest bulk is going to be on our operations. You'll see inside of operations, you'll see anything. This is always a big thing as well, is sometimes the location radius here is just set on 50 miles and it's based off of your computer for that. So if you need to look at anything else differently, just add the radius to that and it's going to pull up all 598 results. This is going to go into all of our operations roles here. When peak season comes up, right, are one of our biggest times of the year. That's typically, before Christmas, and a little bit after Christmas. You're going to see a lot of different seasonal jobs come up. So if you're interested in a seasonal job to supplement whatever, whether you're a student or whatever, take a look at some of our seasonal for that as well. Navigating back, let me go back here just for a sec. Okay. Okay, so here now, obviously, so we got engineering, global logistics at the global level, our information technology, finance, the UPS store. So that is the UPS store that you guys may see in some of your neighborhoods there. You'll see some leads for that. You'll see some management positions. Let's just see what we have. Yeah, so you'll see a consultant, a lot of different consultant roles inside of that as well. And then lastly, before I go into the most important, you can see everything else: legal, security, corporate management, human resources, sales, automotive, throughout different periods of the year. So I'm sure that we probably have some people on the call today that may be interested with internships or co-ops. Those are my biggest advice with this, and I work hand in hand with our university relations team. And the biggest advice that the supervisor had told me was just be critical with look at the time frame on when those come out. Those usually come out in the fall and they dry into the summer. So in the fall, we should start to see some of those co-ops come up for the applications. And they take a few months there so we can start to identify for our internships for the summertime. So the timelines are very important for that, just an understanding of that. Um, Inside of here, one of the biggest things that I always tell people who are interested right now, maybe we don't have the role that you're seeking. Maybe the job's just not there, the opportunity's not there. But I would highly recommend, and not just with our company here at UPS, I would highly recommend is, go through with your search, find out your top three areas that either you're at, whether you want to relocate to or whatever, and then start to siphon your list down from those three locations and start to build this profile of what the companies are that you want to apply to based off the location that you're really interested for that. And then once you do that, look at some of these job alerts. It will just ask for some basic information. So you can see the area of interest here. It goes through all of our job functions and then the desired work location as well. And what this does is it puts you into a pool. And then when that role comes out, we can all probably attest that, as a requisition comes out, it's important to, be there to apply and stick with the timing. So once that comes out, you could be one of the first ones to apply for that role. So I always tell everyone, join our talent community. You're going to get a few emails from that, but most importantly here, it's going to alert you when that specific role is that comes out for you as well. So definitely take a look at that. We have a lot of different great things on here. You can go in through our hiring process. We've got our applications and our onboarding, and it goes over specific niche jobs that require different types of onboarding and things of that nature. And then one thing, if we have any veterans on the team here on the call, you can come over here and we can look at some of our veterans page here and just kind of think about what we have. So we currently have over 19,000 veterans that work for UPS. Here's some of the stories here. I actually work hand in hand with Captain Houston Mills here. He's a president of UPS Airline Safety. He's part of our VBRGs here. But you can see some of our success stories that we have. You got my boss, Lloyd Knight here, been with UPS for 17 years and retired after the Air Force after 20 as well. Um, some of the resources and things that we have, some just career things. And I would say, not just with UPS, take a look at everyone's. Just find out what those companies are. Like I said, find your locations first because that's going to depict on, you're going to have to find your location before you find your careers, and then start building these profiles out based on, what it is that you seek and whatever you desire. And then lastly, on the veteran side, we have a few different things here as well. And I always love to give this, and I'll give a quick little story about this side. We'll close it out for some Q&A. But we had an intern working for us about a summer, oh, about 2 summers ago. And we have an archive over at the UPS headquarters, and we were going through those, working together, finding some stories, and we ended up finding some really, really unique, awesome articles of UPS supporting veterans, even in World War One. So it was really cool to see. But here's some of our legacy with supporting veterans throughout the year or throughout the years. Um, so that concludes a little bit of our share of our career site team. Let me just go ahead and stop the screen. And then I would love to open up the next, whatever time you got for us, Warner, for any types of questions you guys might have. And then most importantly here, just ensure that you leave with my contact information. Like I said, I support military and veteran, but I work with all of our recruiters across the organization, so I can put you in touch for sure.
We appreciate you, Eric, for all of that amazing details and recommendations and tips. So, as always, since our students are all over the United States and they're attending global campus as well as around the world, and that's not just military, that's civilian as well, Eric, this question always arises. And I think
Yeah.
you probably hear this all the time at every event that you've been attending, but they always ask about remote opportunities. And granted, we
Yeah.
understand the UPS has so many different areas. And I know personally, because
Yeah.
my sister worked in IT, supporting IT, that now all of IT is completely remote, at least in the
Mhm.
building in Maryland, that's going away and they're all working remote. So I know of that, but are
Yeah.
there other areas or what do you recommend for those people who are interested in remote opportunities in UPS before they graduate or even now after they've graduated?
Yeah, no, great question. Like you said, I get that quite often as well. And some of the roles that come to my mind, obviously a lot of our tech related roles, some of our software development, some of our project management to see some of these, our project and program management to see some of these, projects go through. You'll see a handful of those remote. I will say this, it will say on the job description, it will say remote if it's up there. So if you look at that on our AI bot, if you type, I've done it a few times. If you type in remote, it's going to pull everything up there that's remote at the time. And so
Got it.
that's a good way to go through our UPS jobs and find those roles. But it'll typically say remote. Other than that, a lot of these tech roles are on a hybrid schedule. So like I had mentioned, Parsippany, New Jersey, Atlanta, Georgia. A lot of them
Mhm.
are on a hybrid schedule, and that's really just based on, the manager's criteria for that. It's typically a 3 on, 3 in, 2 days off. It's typically. So I would say, those are some of our hybrid, but yeah, they'll typically say remote for that. The ones that I typically see are going to be, and this is just off the top of my head, are some of our technology roles, project and program management. I see those quite often. And then some of our account executives, they might be our account executives, some of our customer service. Those are typically based on a region. Now, that might have some field work that's involved with that, whether you're overseeing some of the locations that are fit in your region there, or some of the customers might be in that region. So you might be traveling inside that region, but you're ultimately working from your home for that as well. So hopefully that answers some questions.
Sure, absolutely. And it's always going to come up, of course.
Yeah,
And in today's day and age where you can work out of your own from a lot of different types of jobs. So absolutely. So I had a person here. We have several people, and of course, our military affiliated students. I don't want to make this all about our military affiliated
yeah,
because it's not. But this one was a spouse, and they indicated that they have a supply chain, or excuse me, that's the wrong one. It's a supply chain management degree, and they were thinking of applying to a management position or supervisory position.
yeah,
And of course, that's supply chain management, definitely up UPS's alley for sure.
yeah,
How does that work? Or for those who are, and actually, that's a good point too. I mean,
yeah,
if we have spouses and then all of a sudden these military, not to make this again about the military, but when they PCS to a new base, or they have to now go overseas and they want to continue their
yeah,
degree with us, or they want to continue their job with you, there's possibility for remote. How does all that work? And
yeah. No,
exactly,
great. This is a great question. I get it. I get it sometimes. This is a phenomenal question. I would say right now in the company, we have, I work remote and I started off in the office, but I ended up moving. And so, and this would be, I'm going to give advice. This isn't, end all be. This is just my advice. I would say
sure,
if you're looking for that, be transparent inside of your screening call, inside of your interview. And it could sound like, we'll use the spouse for a reference or for an example. Maybe, my husband or my wife is stationed here for the next 2 years. What does that look like for relocation from that? And I would say and this is like I said, advice, there's opportunities inside there to request to work remote. And that's probably one of those case by case that would probably meet that criteria that, you started with the company and maybe 2 years later your husband's getting relocated, but you put in a request through your management and it gets approved that, you can work remote.
yeah. And actually, that ties into something else that I just thought of when you were saying that, Eric, because obviously UPS is not just a domestic company; it's an international company, right? So
Hmm.
how does that, as a follow-on question to that, how does that work if in fact you do, let's say that again, back to the military as an example, but if you're now stationed overseas and now it
Yeah.
becomes convenient to apply to a job internationally there, how does all of that work? Maybe your time that you had in UPS domestically, how can now you're transferring and you're going to another location, or even for our students that are maybe interested in moving overseas and to apply to a job at UPS internationally. What
Yeah.
recommendation or advice can you give regarding that, please?
Yeah, good question. This is a little out of my norm. I typically take US base. Obviously, we have, the coverage internationally.
Sure,
Um, that's a good question, and I don't want to give the wrong answer for that.
sure,
What I can do is I can take that question and inside of that follow up, I can, when you send an email out with the recording, I could
sure,
potentially add that question in there. I would probably need to reference more someone on the TA side that might be international or so that covers that. But I guess my only advice for that is just be transparent inside of your hiring process. But I know that kind of answer that's the same answer. That's just waters I've never really had to go through on the
I
international
totally get
side.
it. Don't even
Yeah.
worry about it. I
But
mean,
we
that
can
might
find
be.
out. We can definitely find out. And we can put that into a follow-up email for
Yeah,
sure.
and then not only that, but that could be a potential, like maybe a month or two from down the road or what have you. We can also address that in a coffee talk or something if you have a couple
Yeah.
minutes or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'd be happy to do that.
Hmm.
Somebody here mentioned that they worked in our industry, in the industry, and I say our because I failed to mention earlier, Eric, that I used to work for Airborne Express while I was in college. So
Yeah.
I work in operations. So getting all the planes to the sort at night, and I know UPS has these massive sorts. That one that's like three or four football fields in where
Yeah.
Kentucky or
I
whatever.
I know it at the Worldport Airport in Kentucky there. I
That's the
think
one. Yeah,
if I'm correct, from what I'm told, I think there's like 150 planes that touch down
it's
in
insane.
one single night
In
with
one
that. And
single
it's
night, all the
almost,
sort.
from what
Yeah.
I've been told, like 70% of the workforce is
Mhm.
really working at that time. So
Oh, wow.
it's really crazy. Like I said, the machine, it's a big machine.
It is a huge machine. And this person here mentioned, of course, that they have some years of experience working in the industry. They haven't gotten a call and what have you. I guess it goes back to the advice that you gave earlier. Is it maybe that the individual, I'm not sure, we don't know, I'm guessing at this, but is it maybe that whatever the job description or the place, the jobs that they've applied to, maybe they just haven't produced their accomplishments, or maybe
Yeah.
they haven't shown their self in the best light. What do you recommend for someone who has not gotten a follow-up that could potentially get revisited and be a strong candidate for the positions that they've applied to already?
Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, good question. And I would say to start it off with, if you are that individual, send me a LinkedIn message. Just let me know, let me know where we met at, which was this event here, and just put that question in there. And I have access to our ATS system. So I can pull through and we could set some time up and we could look through, the applications you applied through, and then, I can go through, I can actually ping some of the recruiters and say, I don't focus on individual roles. I oversee our recruiting department for veterans. But what I can do is I can get some feedback from that specific job function recruiter, and we can have an answer for you for that as well. But I would say, you know, in today's day and age, with all the technology, with AI and job description and everything that you have, just utilize those resources to the best of your ability. Um, yeah, that would probably be my answer for that. Is just utilize those resources that are out for you, and then just have your best available, or I'm sorry, your best way of just taking that job description and taking those skills from what you already have and just portraying yourself inside that resume with that job description for sure. But yeah, I would love to hopefully I get the LinkedIn message from you here and I would love to follow up with you.
I'm sure you're going to get plenty of them today.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you again. I know you're super busy and we absolutely appreciate you. So actually in the same light, we have somebody here. I used to be a recruiter in the Air Force for 4 years, so I totally get recruiting, and several of our
Yeah.
staff members at UAGC in career services have been recruiters. This person was mentioning human resources management, that they got their degree recently from that, and they were just wondering. So I think it's kind of answered here, but if they're interested in HR and maybe potential job openings in the future in HR, what advice could you give regarding that?
Yeah, good question. I see that a lot too. And I hate going back to the military, but that's really what I've been focused on the last few years. But it
Sure.
goes in a big tie to every candidate out there. But I see a lot of individuals that want to jump into the HR career field, which, an amazing career field. I would say you're like I had mentioned in that brief, that first role, like whatever company that you desire to go with, that first role might not be everything. It might not be. Um, it might not be that first role that you get might not be what it is that you're. I don't want to say desired, but like what I'm trying to get at is get your foot in the door.
Understood.
I'm trying to say, get your foot in the door with the skills that you have, the things that you desire for that role, but get your foot in the door. And I'll tell you this and I'm probably speaking for every company out there, the internal board that opens up, that internal board, typically at a company of our stature, we want to find the best talent that's working with us as well. We give
Sure.
that opportunity right then and there. So I will
Sure.
say this, you're going to see more HR roles located on the inside of UPS than you're going to see typically on the outside. Typically, I've seen within the year, we've had some recruiter roles. We've had some on the HR side, we've had some, social media tied to HR roles that come up. So they're definitely out there. But the bulk of those are inside the company, and they're just waiting for somebody to come in, and fill that role, giving somebody that opportunity, which is a way, it's a perfect way to show career growth.
Absolutely. And then I have a question here from Tanya, and she was mentioning that she had some business to business experience. And I'm sure this is kind of more like up probably for Kim, right? Kim's alley, most likely.
Kim, yeah,
Yeah, but she also mentioned, which is a good one, having healthcare. And somebody previously, Eric, mentioned that they had healthcare. And I know, we're talking a completely separate industry,
yeah,
but you know what I'm about to ask. That,
yeah,
if you business to business, absolutely. I mean, you got to get customers to come to work with UPS for sure. As we did at Airborne Express, everybody does that. DHL, all of them. But the reality of it too is, we have these people that are transitioning, but yet they have other degrees, and yet they're interested in UPS, and especially now with this information session today. So if
yeah.
they have a degree, as crazy as this question is, if you have a degree in healthcare, what could you do with that at UPS?
Yeah, good call. Great call. I know that so UPS, obviously, you've probably seen in the news here in the last few years, they started up, the UPS Healthcare, which
Ah,
is focused on cold chain supply solutions. Moving cold goods, and that has been a phenomenal. Um, I don't want to say business is a phenomenal way for us to transform some of our company for that. And so I would say look at some of those healthcare roles. I can put you in touch. I've got a friend of mine that serves on our Veterans Business Resource Group, and he's a director of sales for the healthcare solutions there. And so I would love to put you in touch with him if you want to ping. I think that was Tanya. If you want to ping me, he can give you, maybe that could be, a networking. You can set aside maybe 15 minutes on his calendar, and from there, maybe that leads to something else that's down the road for that. But I would definitely say, ping me. I'll put you in touch with His name is Jake,
okay.
and I know Jake very well. He would love to just set some time up, and maybe that opens some doors down the road.
The questions are coming in hot here. We have so many. It's because, well, one of the things too, and I think Eric and I have talked about this, but just a friendly reminder, our students, of course, are older and their average age is around 31, 32 years of age. So
Yeah.
obviously they have years of work experience. So we have several questions here which talk about that, having transferable skills. Does UPS consider transferable skills? This other individual here worked at T-Mobile for 21 years. I just happened to work at AT&T for over 13 years. So, I have those management skills and other things for operations. These people here in finance, person has a degree in finance and has worked at 21 years at T-Mobile. For those individuals and students like ours, they're not all that many years of experience. Maybe we have the whole gamut of students, but on average, we always have students that are looking for careers. They might be looking here today at this industry and saying, hey, I can see myself as a good fit. What do you recommend to those people that have all those years of experience and would like to apply it at UPS?
Yeah. Let's see. So with that, and I kind of already somewhat gave you, and this is guys, I gotta tell you, this is just my advice from what I've seen, in the last 3 years of being a recruiter with UPS and then being a TA supervisor for our veteran recruiting department. And I talk a lot about the veteran community. And I'll see, I've spoken with colonels before that think about the skills and everything that's backed behind all their experience and things of that nature. And leaning into some of the advice that I give is, take the job description, align it to your experience. But at the end of the day, it's really, whatever company that you're looking for is like that role might not be here right now, but with all that experience, you get your foot in the door, and it's going to open up so many other opportunities for that as well. I think I just answered that same question with my last response there, but I think that's one of those things that I see quite often, especially with a senior military leader that has all this experience.
Sure.
Maybe a director role or a VP role is just not out there right now.
Understood.
One of the things, if you have that experience already, maybe it's out of the military, that transfers very well into what some of these senior leadership roles are looking for as well. Um, I think where the breakdown is it's hard to translate some of the things that maybe you've done in the military over into the civilian workforce. But that's why we have teams like we have our military and veteran recruiting team in place to not only help the candidate experience, but also be able to educate the recruiters, the hiring managers who are out there doing that as well. So hopefully I answered your question with that is, like I said, the internal board's a lot bigger, but if I'm sure everybody on this call can take that opportunity and run with it. Just find that opportunity, get your foot in the door, and be able to see. I promise you, you'll be able to see how far you can really go once you get your foot in the door. So.
I have a really good one that came in here it applies to everybody. So what are some of the common mistakes that candidates make during the application and in your interview process?
Yeah. Good call. Let me start from the beginning. I see a lot of, I've run data on candidates through our military veteran pipeline. I run data on every application that comes through. I look over different functions that they apply to, what's our interest, things of that nature. And I see a pretty big hit with maybe you're going through the application process pretty quick and you hit one of the knockout questions too quick, and then that pretty much takes you right out from the running for that. And then maybe during a LinkedIn message, I find out, and after having a conversation, oh, like this guy does have he answered it incorrectly, so we can go back and change that. However, just taking the time for your knockout questions. Don't just make sure you guys read them through because sometimes they get a little tricky. So just make sure you read out those knockout questions. You don't give yourself that opportunity to be kicked out right off the beginning. And then two, to have that targeted resume. I see it quite often. People that will just take that master resume and then just submit it, everything out there. But if you want to have the probability of getting recognized, take those job description, tailor that resume to it. Keep that resume under two. We always like to tell our candidates, our military candidates, keep that resume at minimum, or I'm sorry, at maximum 2 pages, no more than 2 pages, because you
Understood.
got to think about that bandwidth that a recruiter's looking at, right? That's the
Sure.
first glance. You got to keep that bandwidth quick, to the point, concise. So keep it under two pages, and then your LinkedIn profile is an extension of your resume for that. So we always love to tell people that. So yeah, have that targeted resume, and then always find yourself with that follow-up. Give the recruiter some time, right? Uh, they're going through the applications. They're trying to find the best candidate. They don't just have that one requisition that they're working on. Some of the recruiters might have. I've seen it. I think at one point in time I had 22 requisitions that you're working
Wow.
on. And if you think about all those resumes that you're going through on a day, setting screening calls, organizing interviews, things of that nature. So give the recruiters a little bit of slack here, give them some time. But if you can identify who that recruiter is, send a follow-up message, 3, 4 days after you apply. If you can't find the recruiter, go through that company organization. Start off, I would say at the very beginning, if you're interested with UPS and maybe the role's not out there right now, find some connections, find some coffee meetings, start to build those connections. So when that role comes up, there you go. Like you have like, hey, the role just came up. I know you and I have been, talking for the last 6 months. Do you mind, sending over a referral for this role? And so that's going to get you your eyes on to looking at that application. And then with the interview process, I'll say my typically where I'm at in my phase, I'm before the interview process. But I would say utilize that we use the STAR method. Obviously, that's big. So we utilize the STAR method. So go through whether you're a veteran that's tied to an organization, go through to your rehearsals. But I guess my biggest advice for that is base it off that STAR method for sure. Yeah.
And then we're down to the last few minutes here, and I still got to close up. But I wanted to ask this question because this is a great one. That there's so many questions here, Eric. We could literally go another 30 minutes. It's like
Yeah.
that many questions are coming in. But I wanted to let you know, or I wanted to touch on briefly for 30 seconds. What do you see the future of UPS? When it comes to all of these modernization, and we were talking about it in our phone calls about these
Yeah.
large, automation, robotics, the drones and all kinds of things that are going to happen in the future. What do you see the future of UPS looking like for our students, and when they're applying, what can they look forward to in this industry over the next few
Yeah.
years?
Absolutely. Good question. I would say, and this is just my, my own opinion, my, taking of this. I had
Sure.
the opportunity to go see one of our facilities out there in Atlanta, Georgia, totally operated by, AI, things going around, moving packages inside of that. So the automation, we're leaning very much to automation. You could probably see in the news that we just finished up the bulk of the Amazon. And so just recently our QT or our Q2 earnings call came out yesterday. It was very, very positive call. So
Good
if you want
news.
to take a look at that a little bit more, you can see how
Sure.
that transition, a company at this large went through a transition phase, and we're at the very back end of that. And so now it's pretty much taking that transition and going upward with it. So I would say definitely a huge, huge opportunity for growth. And one of the biggest sectors I'll say right now. I've had a few colleagues that went over to the healthcare side, the UPS healthcare, and
Mhm.
they have been doing a phenomenal job. A lot of focus has been in that area, and so a lot of different positions, you'll see open up for the on the healthcare side as well for the
That's
cold
great
chain.
news.
So
Great news.
yeah, and then lastly, I guess one more thing. Going into UPS Flight Forward right now, a big program is using drone technology for that. So that's something that we're starting to lean into. I know that in COVID timeframe, we were the first company to deliver of some of the vaccines using drones during that
Oh,
time
wow.
frame. And so we are, we're going through leaning forward to our Flight Forward path program for that as well.
Well, that's
So
exciting as well. So again, we
yeah,
could literally go another 30 minutes an
yeah,
hour with all the questions that are coming in, but we're out of time. We want to go ahead and let you know we're closing this out. And if you want to connect with UPS and other organizations that are actively hiring, please log into your Handshake account through your student portal. We recommend checking Handshake and UAGC Connect and your email regularly for more career services events. Reminder, you will receive a follow-up email with a link to this recording and information about careers at UPS. If you have any questions for the Career Services team on your resume, cover letter, or job search, please email careerservices@uagc.edu or log into Handshake through your student portal to explore more resources. Please take 1 minute to hang on at the close of this information session. You'll be directed to complete a quick confidential survey. Your responses will guide us in planning future employer information sessions, career fairs, and events. If you're unable to complete it now, the survey will be emailed to you with a copy of the recording. Many thanks again to Eric at UPS for joining us today, and many thanks to you, our students and graduates, for attending UAGC. Thank you for attending today. We encourage everyone to register for the next employer information session with the Department of Interior, which will include 11 governmental agencies under the Department of the Interior, and that'll be on August the 19th. That event, you'll see emails for that, so please click that registration. And we always encourage you to click it because in the event that something takes you away, work, what have you, you'll still receive the link and the recorded copy of the event. So we look forward to seeing you at more career services hosted events. Again, thank you so much, Eric. It's been a privilege today to have you, and everyone have a wonderful day.